What's this? What's this? There's nightmares everywhere. On August 29th, 30th, and 31st, GalaxyCon brought Nightmare Cleveland to the Huntington Convention Center located in downtown Cleveland, Ohio. It was a beautiful weekend. The air show was happening, but inside of that convention center, nightmares were coming to life. Now, on August 29th, I had to go see Jaws 3D. I was not about to miss that experience. So I didn't get to bed as early as I would like. I ended up going to bed at about 12:30 a.m. And a certain song haunted my dreams.
Josh's Order Corner. That's me.
Now, 8 a.m. came quick. I am not a morning person. I rolled out of bed at about 8:17 a.m., jumped in the shower, put on my deodorant, two things that are required if you're going to go out in public. Please shower and deodorize, people. And we're off. My main reason for going to Nightmare Week in Cleveland is to add Chris Sarandon to my Child's Play franchise cast piece. I've been dying to add him to this piece, and the opportunity to meet him is amazing. I'm really looking forward to it. We're also going to add the cast of Killer Klowns From Outer Space to my 11x17 that already has the Chiodo brothers. The sun is shining, the city looks fantastic, and you might even see some buildings you recognize from 2025 Superman, as a lot of that was filmed in downtown Cleveland, Ohio. Huge thanks to Emily for convincing me that her dropping me off was going to be the best option. She was right. We made it downtown. Here we are at the Huntington Convention Center, ready for Nightmare Weekend. Now, the Huntington Convention Center has a great layout. As soon as you walk in, if they're using this main room, you can look down and see everything that's happening. So I was able to really look over things and see, before I even got in there, what my plan of attack would be. Not that I hadn't already looked on the map and figured it out from there, but it's always good to see if anything's changed in the layout. Now, we'll come back up here later on once it's filled with people and see how busy it looks from above. I just wanted to check things out before I head downstairs to the entrance. So let's head down the escalators, let's get into this line here and wait for the 15 minutes or so before we can actually get inside. Now, it's bright and early, so it's hard to say how many of the guests will actually be here first thing in the morning. But again, I wanted to make sure I was here bright and early, ready to jump into Chris Sarandon's line, because I didn't want to miss the opportunity to meet him. Now, in this rush, I'm headed right to Chris's table. Boom, there's Halftone Horror. They are awesome. Please check them out. Roger Jackson's already at his table. He's already got a line forming. We're going to go right to where we know we need to be. Derek Mears, CJ Graham already meeting their fans. And here is the line for Chris Sarandon, and now we wait. Chris Sarandon was one of the higher priced individuals this weekend. His pricing started off at $70. For the piece I wanted, it was going to be $80. I was aware. I was anticipating that. Not a big deal. He's earned it. Now, I was very surprised at how friendly he was, and I feel like that sounds kind of bad, but it's true. I was surprised that he was as nice as he was. He wanted to know your name. He wanted to give me a nice fist bump and talk to you. I had my piece already laid out how I wanted it to be signed, but he still wanted to make sure he was doing it right, asked some questions along the way. And when I went to step away, I said, enjoy your time in Cleveland. And he kept talking to me. It was he wanted to finish that part of the conversation before moving on to the next person. It didn't feel rushed. We talked about how he had family from the area, his appreciation of the architecture, and it was cool. It felt like an actual meet instead of just sign, here you go, bye. And his little wind up before he signs your piece is awesome. Like, he's looking at it, he's making sure he's going to fit it in perfectly, and he nailed the way he signed this autograph. I'll show you in just a second.
You don't want it to anyone, just sign?
Correct.
Okay.
Please. Thank you.
Alex, straight over here.
I couldn't be happier with the placement. I don't care that he went over the blue, because we're going to add more on here. It's going to get covered. Believe me now, Detective Mike Norris, Chris Sarandon. Over here we have Alex Vincent. Down here we have Billy Boyd, who was Glenn and Glinda. We have Brad Dourif, Fiona Dourif. We have Christina Leese. This piece is coming together so well. I came to this event prepared. I had everything laid out in my mind. I had a map that I drew before I left the house. I knew that all I had to do was turn, take a few steps, and there would be my next stop. So that's what I did. I walked over to my next guest that I wanted to meet, and that was Derek Mears. He was sitting across from Kane Hodder. He was sitting next to CJ Graham. Ari Lehman was another booth down, and he was so full of energy, excitement, and stories. Derek Mears is one of the nicest people I've ever met in my life. He has this like childish glow about him where when you talk to him about his experiences, about his acting, about his stunts, everything, he is just so excited to be a part of horror. He was talking about some future things he's working on, season 2 of Ted, Shelby Oaks, which he sounds very excited for. I'm very excited for that one. It looks so creepy. Here's a picture of him and I together. We added him to our 11 by 17. This originally came from Waldo Inc. And we had Wade up here. We had Whitney down here. We sent it off to SigsCom to get Caleb Gus added to it. When I had it laid out, I wanted him to sign down here in silver. And he misunderstood what I meant about Jason below in red. And he was like, so you want red right in the middle? And I was like, you know what? That sounds like a better idea. That's going to make it stand out more against the others. And he's like, yeah, and then if you want to add somebody else, boom, you have that space. He laid this out perfectly. I am so, so happy with how this turned out. All right, before we head to our next guest, let's take a look down this next row. In this row, we had Danny Lloyd. Oh, Quinn Lord was there. We had the cast from Rocky Horror Picture Show, Gangrel. I don't know who that is, but he seemed really cool. He seemed like a happy guy. And down this aisle, we had Rob Kurtzman, Greg Nicotero, David Naughton was here, Denise Crosby. There was so many awesome people. The cast of Halloween Town was behind me in this row. So many great people, so many great guests. And then here we had like Killer Klowns from Outer Space Avenue, apparently. This is where all of the cast was. The Chiodo brothers, Grant Kramer, John Allen Nelson, and then down at the end on this side, we had Suzanne Snyder next to Brian O'Halloran from Clerks. He seemed really cranky, but I've heard he was a great guy. Shout out to my buddy Austin. Full transparency, I suck at doing these filmings and these videos. So when I met Suzanne Snyder, I didn't get a picture, I didn't get a video, nothing. And it was kind of an awkward experience anyways. So basically, I said hello, all of that. I asked for a particular quote. We tried to decide where the placement would go. And when I asked for the quote, she was like, I've never written down before, which as a collector, that's awesome to hear. But then she was like, I don't even know if I said that. And I was like, man, did I get it wrong? I always second guess myself, and I need to stop because I watched the clip from the movie so many times to map this out accordingly. And I knew that she said, I can't take this anymore, right before that line of another door. They're running down the hall, trying to get away from the clowns. And he says, open the door or something like that. And like Dave says that. And then she says, I can't take this anymore, right before Mike says, another door. So it was a little bit of a moment of, yes, you definitely said that line. She signed it. She was so, so nice. If you know her signature, you know how beautiful she does her signature. So after making sure that she was comfortable with the placement of it, she did lock it in right there for me. I can't take this anymore. Just like that. And then we went down and we got Grant down here with the classic another door. Then we went over and we got Dave right here. You shoot him in the nose. And then we got to meet the clowns. The clowns were awesome. We got Rudy at the top here. We got Slim over here in the white, which kind of hides, but I think it turned out just fine. And then we have Bubbles, Paul Haley right down here. These gentlemen were such a pleasure to talk to. It was still early, so it was still kind of slow inside, and they each just took their time. I was talking to Mike, who played Slim, for quite a while. We were talking about smash burgers and how he makes his steaks and his big green egg. Herod, we were talking about how he wants to go dress as a clown and go to the Pittsburgh Steelers training facility and do an event. When we got down to Bubbles, we talked about the different markers and pens that he prefers and things like that. Whereas with like Grant was cool, but he was kind of just like, meh, okay. John was really nice, but he also was kind of just like all business. And Suzanne, it was just kind of an awkward experience. But yes, so we got this done. We got JSA to update it with all of these new individuals. And now I have this piece right here where I do want to add the composer to it. Hopefully, something interesting right in here with his music notes and all of that. But I'm stoked at how that turned out. And finally, Sandy Johnson, Judith Myers herself. I wanted to add her to my Halloween piece with Michael's around someplace as the quote. And the opening credits of the movie, she says that before heading up to her bedroom and then eventually her demise. In that row, there was also Alan Horvath, Clint Howard was there, Brad Lorray, and James Jude Courtney. But meeting Sandy Johnson was a delight. She talked very highly of PJ Souls and was just a really nice lady. For horror's sake, wanted to get an autograph from Tim Jacobus, and of course I said, heck yes, any opportunity to meet him would be a pleasure. So I went over there next, and I got to meet the artist behind the Goosebumps series. Very, very nice guy. I didn't know for sure if I would add Rob Kurtzman to this piece, but I decided, you know what, let's do it. Vintage Authentics did this custom piece. It has some spaces perfect for signatures. Let's add the writer of From Dusk Till Dawn. He loved the piece. He was talking about how next year they're going to have some special viewing events for From Dusk Till Dawn. So keep your eye out for more information around that. Now, I did ask him before he signed this if he wrote the "You Be Cool" line or if Tarantino did. He said Tarantino did add that in later on, but he still loved including that when he wrote his signature when he signed these pieces. So he did do "You Be Cool," even though I think it was his wife, his handler, his agent, she told me I was wrong, that it was just "Be Cool," and him and I both had to say, he does say "Be Cool," but then he follows it up with that "You Be Cool." It's one of my favorite moments of the movie. At this point, it's about noon. Let's head back up to the top. Here is a picture of the badge for the day. I'll throw a selfie in here for you. Also, the van from the Black Phone was there, so that was kind of cool. We got to see the people over at Halftone Horrors. I love that company. I hope you're following them. If not, please do. Cameron, it was so nice to meet him. He's a great person. And then I also got to meet 1984 Publishing. They released some incredible books. Not only are their books themselves incredible, but the way they put them together, they are so beautifully done. Keep an eye out for another video. We're going to talk about one of their books here before too long. And then through this area here, they had some animatronics that you could get your picture taken with, which I guess was kind of cool. The Supernatural car, again, the Black Phone van. They had the Ghostbusters car. It's like a Cleveland local group that does that. And then your Rocky Horror Picture Show and your Terrifier cast members that were over here as well. I did check out a couple panels, the first being with the Jasons. So Derek Mears, Kane Hodder, CJ Graham, Ari Lehman, all hanging out, talking about their experience on set. Ari is long-winded. He talks a lot. And Kane and CJ were kind of mean to him. It was weird. But they just pick on him. And Derek is a sweetheart. He was super nice to everybody involved. He even was really sharing his shock at how unsafe some of the practices on Friday the 13th Part 6 and 7 were. At the end, they asked everyone who was watching to come up in front of the stage. They took a picture, and then you could buy a copy of that picture. I'll give you $1 if you can find me. Not really. I also was really happy I took the time to check out the Q&A with Spencer from Ice Nine Kills. I've always been curious about what kind of person he was, because it's always seemed like he was very I don't want to be here. I was wrong. It seems like that's just his personality. He has an extremely laid-back personality. He was so patient, so kind. I was very impressed with how calm he stayed and how polite he was to the people asking questions, especially when it seemed like it was mostly parents putting their kids up there to have the spotlight for a moment. What's your favorite kind of dog? What's your favorite kind of snack? What's your favorite color? I get it, and those are whatever questions. I wanted to hear more about who you are as a person when it comes to horror. How did you get here? I did end up asking, how did you go from being this band all about horror to appearing at horror conventions and then having your own? And he gave me a really thought out, awesome answer, giving a lot of credit and thanks to Sean Clark for getting him to where he is. As I was walking around, I came across a booth for comic artist, writer Joseph Schmalke, who did a cover for Creepshow. So as I was talking to him about graphic novels and comics, it caught my eye and I was like, what's that? And he said he did this cover. I'm going to kind of cover that there. He did this cover. He signed it right at the top there. Boop, up there. He signed it for me, and he gave me the suggestion that I should go add someone else to it. So I did. So after he signed it, I took it over to where Greg Nicotero was set up, and I asked him to sign this for me as well. So now we have really the mastermind behind the Shudder Creepshow series, as well as the artist of this cover on it. Really excited because I've been wanting Greg Nicotero in my collection, but I hadn't really found the right piece. Now, also, I'm sure you've noticed by now that I don't really say anything about the Terrifier cast that was there. I'm not really a big fan of Terrifier. I like the originals. I thought they were really cool when they were shorts, but I just haven't really enjoyed what they've become. And that's just me. If you love it, hell yeah, I'm stoked you have something to enjoy. I hope you're looking forward to part 4. But Elliot, that was in the newer Terrifier movie, he is also a musician. So when I was over near his table, I noticed he had some vinyl stacked up on there. And I went up, checked out the prices, and I decided to grab his newest album. This is Elliot Fulham, Ready to Leave. He said he likes signing it with a song title, and he didn't remember using Foil Sick before. So he signed that for me. We got some pictures. That kid is awesome. He is such a kind person. It was really cool seeing him interact with the different guests and just all around having a great time. It was funny when I was talking to him. Spencer came over to say hi, and he just lit up. I asked him if he would have a chance to see the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and he said no, but he would be continuing to work on music and hopes to come back and check it out at some point. What an absolutely awesome time. That's a wrap on Nightmare Weekend Cleveland. But before I go, let's check out this new statue downtown honoring Joanne Siegel, Joe Shuster, and Jerry Siegel, the creators of Superman, who used a lot of downtown Cleveland as inspiration for Metropolis. Here we have this phone booth where Clark Kent stepped inside, threw off his clothing, and stepped out to jump into the air, fly away as Superman to protect the city from whatever was going on. Here we have this statue. Gonna walk around here a little bit so you get a better look at it, but there he is, Superman, ready to go up, up, and away and take care of business. Nightmare Cleveland was such an awesome time. I'm really glad that I carved out the time my weekend to check it out. I added some amazing pieces to my collection, and it's things like this that normally I will sit out and look to a consignor to take care of these pieces for me. So it was really cool to actually do these myself, get out there, and get these autographs in person. And did I mention the air show is happening? How incredible is it to walk out of an event like this and all of a sudden just see these planes flying overhead, putting on an amazing show? This was an awesome end to this event. Do 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 do. do 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 do.